This is a great question to review because it gives you an opportunity to refresh your memory on some topics that are really tested on the GMAT, particularly exponent rules, the rules on exponents. Now, before we do that, we're going to review a couple other things. We're asked for the median of these five numbers. So let's just do a quick review on median. The median of, in this case, we have five numbers. Suppose, I'm just going to make these up arbitrarily. I don't know, 3, 7, 11, 13, and 25. So here I'm just making up five numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. The median is the number in the middle. So the median here would be 11. Now, as an aside, if there were 6 numbers, I'll write this out real quick. If there were 6 numbers, well, then the median is defined as what? As the average of the two in the middle. So it would be 11 plus 13 divided by 2, which is 12. That's just as kind of an aside. For this particular question, we have 5 numbers. We want to know what's the middle number. And when I say the middle, I mean when we're ordering them from low to high. From low to high, that's very important. Another thing to mention very briefly, reciprocals and dividing by fractions. Let's just take a look at this. What's a reciprocal? What is a reciprocal? Well, suppose I had a fraction, let's say 2/3. The informal definition, let's say, is the flipped over version of the fraction. So not 2/3, but 3/2. That would be the reciprocal. If you're given a number, what the reciprocal really is, a reciprocal is the same thing as 1 divided by the number. So in this case, 1 divided by 2/3 is what? Well, it's the same thing as 1 times 3/2. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is the same as 1/2. It is 3/2 3/2. And by the way, what's the value of, I'll just take an example here, 5/2? Well, it's 5 times, not 2/3, but 3/2. 5 times 3 is 15, divided by 2, so that would be 5 divided by 2/3. It's the same as 5 times the reciprocal of 2/3. Okay, now let's take a look at some exponent rules. And then once we do that, we'll jump to the question itself. All right, some exponent rules. Not all of them, but just some of them. Some exponent rules. Suppose you had a number, we'll call it x, and you were asked, what is x raised to the power of 2? What is x squared? Well, we know this by now, right? It's x times itself. And how about x raised to the power of 3, or x cubed? That's what? X times itself 3 times. How about x to the 1? Well, that's just x. That's just x. Now, I'll stop there. Let's take some examples. So 4 raised to the power of 1, well, that's just 4. That's just 4. 4 squared, we know what that is. That's 4 times 4, that is 16. Just write 16. 4 cubed, 4 times itself 3 times is 16 times 4, which is 64. And let's look at fractions. How about 1/4 raised to the power of 1? Well, same story. It's just 1/4. Any number raised to the power of 1 is just the number itself. And how about 1/4 squared? 1/4 squared. Well, that's just 1/4 times 1/4. It's not 16, but 1/16. And 1/4 cubed. I won't write them all out, but that's 1/64. Okay, so you get the idea. Let's do a little more here on exponent rules. And some of this is helpful for this problem. All of it is helpful for other future problems. Suppose I had x raised to the power of 0. What's x to the power of 0? Anything raised to the power of 0 is 1. So 4 raised to the power of 0 is 1. 1/4 raised to the power of 0 is 1. Power of 0. Okay, let's talk a little bit about negative exponents. How about x to the negative 1? Well, when you see that negative sign, just write 1/, and then ignore the negative sign and just write x to the 1, which of course is what? Just 1/x. And how about x to the negative 2? Well, I see that negative sign. I just write 1/, and I write x squared. X to the negative 2 is the reciprocal of x to the positive 2. 4 to the negative 1, what's that? That is 1/4. 4 to the negative 2, that is what? That is 1/4 squared. It is 1/16. It is the reciprocal of 4 to the positive 2. How about 1/4 to the negative 1? 1/4 to the negative 1. Well, I see that negative sign. I write 1 over 1/4. Well, that is the same as taking 1 and multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/4. It's the same as taking 1 and multiplying by not 1/4, but 4/1, which of course is just 4. How about 1/4? How about 1/4 to the power of -2? That again, 1 divided by 1/4 to the +2, 1/4 squared. And that is 1 divided by 1/16. So that's going to be, I'm skipping ahead a step here, which is 16, running out of room here a little bit, but you see what I'm getting at. We're almost ready to dive into the question, but just to really reinforce things, let's visualize this a little bit. Suppose we have a number line here. I'll start with 0, 1, 2. I'm going to extend this, and this isn't exactly drawn to scale, but you'll see why in a moment. Okay, we're looking at the numbers greater than 0. Suppose x were 4. Well, as we said before, x squared would be what? It would be 16. X squared would be 4, in this case 4 squared, which is 16. X cubed would be 64. It would be 4 cubed, which is 64. I'm going to add one item in here that we didn't talk about. How about the square root of x? How about the square root of x? Well, that is, the square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of x is 2. But now let's talk about the negative exponent. How about x to the -1? How about 4 to the -1? Well, we know what that is. See that negative sign, right? 1 over 4. So I'll write it right here, and maybe put it in a different color. 1/4. That is x to the -1. X to the -1, 1/4. Now let's jump to the question. We were told that x is actually a fraction. It's a positive fraction. It's between 0 and 1. It's not a number greater than 1. It's a fraction, a positive fraction. So the results when we apply exponents are going to be a little different from what we got here in terms of ordering from left to right. What's the smallest? What's the largest? Let's create another number line, but now we're just going to focus on fractions. So let's see, we'll start with 0. Why don't I put 1 over here? We need to do what? Take these 5 items and order them left to right, lowest to highest, and then pick the median. Well, let's pick a number here. Let's say, suppose x is 1/4. Suppose x is 1/4. X squared is what? 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16. 1/4 squared, 1/16. So x squared is actually smaller than x. So when x is a fraction, a positive fraction, x squared is actually smaller than x. And how about x cubed? How about 1/4 cubed? That's going to be 1 over 64. So that's going to be even smaller than x squared. So here's x cubed. How about the square root of x? The square root of x, when x is a positive fraction, is actually bigger than x itself. The square root of 1/4 is 1/2. And then how about x to the -1? How about 1/4 raised to the power of -1? Well, we said before, you see that negative sign, I'm going to write 1 over, then ignore the negative, 1 over 1/4. 1 over 1/4 to the 1, 1 over 1/4, same thing. And that is what? What is the reciprocal of 1/4? It is 4. So not drawn to scale here, but x to the -1, I'll put it here, x to the -1 would be 4. So the answer to the question, the median, x. Really good chance to review the exponent rules in this question. If that made sense, please click the like button, share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.